The Commonwealth Bank today said the nation's economy will see a sharp slowdown in the next 12 months and that after fast rate rises, the RBA might have to cut rates by the end of next year. Joining me now is our business editor, Ross Greenwood. Ross, is this a hint of the sort of challenges that Treasurer Chalmers has been talking about?
Oh, you bet it is, Kieran. That's precisely what this is all about. In other words, he's been talking about tough times ahead as a result of higher than expected inflation, saying it will go even higher. The Reserve Bank this week has increased rates by 0.5% with the suggestion there is much more coming to try and quell the inflationary outbreak in Australia. And so the Commonwealth Bank says its fear right now is that the Reserve Bank is going to go too hard, too fast, and that really is going to see a slowdown in economic growth in Australia. Now, it doesn't necessarily spell a recession, but what it does show you, and you can see it here, that this is this year's economic growth forecast. It was 4.7%, which is really rosy. It's now 3.5%, but much of that is built into the first half of this year. The second half is going to be much lower, and that's a big issue. And then when you go out to next year, to 2023, the forecast is being cut down to 2.1% economic growth during that period of time. So this slowdown is really all about the story of interest rates and inflation and energy prices, and is precisely what Jim Chalmers is talking about.
But the alarming part of this forecast, Ross, from the CBA is about house prices. It's even suggesting Melbourne prices could be lower than before last year's boom if the RBA goes too hard, too fast.
Well, it's true. And indeed, what the Commonwealth Bank is saying is that from peak to trough, it now believes that house prices, on average, around Australia, will drop by 15%. Now, we can show you exactly what it's basically saying here in regards to it. It says, really, you're going to see drops in 2022, so this year in Victoria, of 10%. But on top of that, it's also saying there'll be more house price falls there of 8% next year in 2023. You can see in Sydney, there's going to be a fall of some 11%, and then the following year a fall of 7%. In Queensland, in Brisbane, falls of house prices there of 10%, in South Australia, in Adelaide, of 11%. So it's right around the country, and this is a direct consequence, the Commonwealth Bank says. I spoke with its economist Gareth Aird about the fact that really in the future the increase in interest rates, they believe now, is perhaps going to be too hard, too fast. In fact, the interesting part about this is that Gareth Aird says that late next year it could be a situation where unemployment has started to rise in Australia because of what's taken place, and the Reserve Bank might be forced to even cut interest rates late next year. That's the sort of turnaround he's expecting in the economy over the next 12 to 18 months.